Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I've got another 1 month one palette roundup video today where I'll be talking you through the palette that I've been focusing on for the past month. I'll show you some pictures and then I will show you the next palette that I'll be working on and how I created this little eye makeup look here. So the palette I've been focusing on for the past month then has been my Urban Decay Naked Heat palette, which is full of all these oranges, browns, coppers, reds, burgundies, purples, really perfect colours for the autumnal days we're having here at the moment in the UK. And I really love to get this palette out during the autumn and just play about with it. I feel like it really matches the feel of all the colours associated with autumn. So my aim for this palette then was to make sure that I use every single shade in this palette at least 3 times, and I have managed to do that, which is good considering that I did have another allergic reaction on my face, so I did spend about another week or 2 without wearing any makeup this past month. So the fact that I have met my usage goal for this palette, I'm really pleased about. So the shade that I ended up using the most was this first shade here, which is a shimmery beige colour called Ounce, and I used that colour 12 times this past month, and it's because it's a really great under the brow bone colour in your inner corner as well, so a really versatile shade to be using for kind of any of the makeup looks that I created over the past month. The next shade that I used the most was number 3, which was Sourced, and I kind of used this one as like my transition shade, and I used this one 9 times. So again, that's probably why I ended up using it quite a number of times, because it worked as a good transition shade. And then after that, number 11, Ashes, I ended up using that 6 times, which I'm quite surprised about because it is quite a dark purple, which isn't really my kind of shade. But I think what I did with this colour was to use it more of like a liner. So again, that's probably why I ended up using it quite a few times, because it was just a really easy liner shade to use. Nothing too intense like a pure jet black can be sometimes. And then there were 1, 2, 3 shadows in the palette that I used 5 times. They were 2, 4 and 10. So Chaser, which is this sort of bone kind of colour, a really good all over the lid shade for me. Low Blow, which is a darker shade than Sourced, but a bit more of like a pure brown colour. So if I wanted more of like that pure brown look, that would be my crease shade. And then number 10, 12, 11, 10 and Fuego as well. Again, quite surprised that I used this one 5 times, because this kind of end of the palette here kind of scares me a little bit. Purple isn't really my favourite eyeshadow shade to be wearing, so I tend to kind of avoid these last sort of 3 or 4 colours here and more focus sort of down here. He Devil, like a pure kind of red colour, rusty red, I used that 4 times, and then the remaining shades I all used 3 times. So in my previous video where I introduced this palette, I did say that my reservations with this palette is because it's all pretty much basically a spectrum of just one shade, a lot of the looks you end up creating do look very similar, but I haven't really found that the past month. I found that I was able to create a good variety of looks. I mean, yes, obviously they were all very warm, very orangey, reddy, goldy types of colours, but I felt like I was able to kind of distinguish between the different shades. So I was actually really happy with most of the makeup looks I created with this palette, to be honest. I don't think there was really any that I thought, no, I'm not really keen on that. However, in terms of talking about the individual shadows within this palette, the shimmery shades do need a little bit of help. They do kind of need a glitter primer underneath them. They're not as intense as I personally would like. In particular, Dirty Talk, this shade here, this one really did need a helping hand. And I found it to be quite similar in colour to Scorched. So if I was to have any kind of say over the colours in this palette here, I would probably get rid of Dirty Talk or Scorched and replace one of those with like a pure gold shimmer. And I feel like that is what this palette is missing. It's a really lovely palette. I've really enjoyed playing with it over the past month, but it does miss that pure shimmery gold colour. But then saying that, like I say, I have really enjoyed playing with this palette over the past month, and I've actually enjoyed it more than I thought I would enjoy it. And there have been times during the year where I thought, shall I declutter the Urban Decay Naked Heat, because a lot of the looks do end up looking very similar. Do I really need a full palette like this of just basically the same kind of colours? but I'm glad I have included this in my 1 month 1 palette because I've really enjoyed playing with it, and I actually don't want to declutter it. I want to keep hold of this. This is my autumnal palette. I've really enjoyed using it in the month of October, and actually with some of the colours in here, so maybe lumbre, I always go to mispronounce it, lumbre. This one here, this is like a really lovely shimmery orange, so that would actually make a really nice sort of spring summer shade, maybe with like a turquoise eyeliner, kind of like a corally lip as well. So although I do say this is an autumnal palette, I think actually this can work year round as well. So in total I have 13 looks to show you from the past month. Like I say, I did spend a week or two not wearing makeup, so that's why I don't have more looks to show you. But 13 I think is a pretty good number. I'm not sure if I have pictures of all of them. I think a couple of times I forgot to take a picture, or it was in the evening, so the lighting wasn't great. So I'm now going to show you all the looks that I created with this palette here. I will include a picture of the shadows and I will label them for each look so you can see which particular shade I used for each individual look. So as much as I enjoyed using my Urban Decay Naked Heat palette, I do want to step away from very kind of like orangey, coppery red eyeshadows. So the palette that I am going to introduce, now I only have 2 eyeshadow palettes left, so I'm kind of like limited for choice, but it is my favourite eyeshadow palette that I own, and it is my Soph Revolution palette. The original one, I have broken mine, I have to be quite careful. This bit came off, so I have sellotaped it down, and this is what the palette looks like. So again, it is very, very warm, but I love me a warm neutral eyeshadow palette. Now I am probably going to create a few similar looks to the ones that I created with my Urban Decay Naked Heat, because you have some orangey reds here, you've got a few like shimmery browns, you've got some like really warm orangey browns here as well. But then you also have a few other little pops of colours as well, like a shimmery pink and a purple, and then a green there as well. So this really is a warm neutral eyeshadow lover's dream, and that's why it is my favourite, because those are my types of colours. I love those warm neutral browns, and I really do love this palette. And I have created this look from this palette, which I will show you at the end of the video. And just from my thoughts of when I've used this palette before and to create this eyeshadow look, I found that the colours are actually really pigmented. They blend really nicely together as well. The shimmers are really, really good quality, much better quality than the shimmers in her Extra Spice palette in my opinion. I did struggle with a few of those shimmers, but I think from memory, now it has been a while since I've used, say, the Gunmetal Blue shimmer, but the browns in particular, the quality is brilliant. They are very, very pigmented. So similar goal with this palette. I think there are 24 shades in this palette, so I think I'm going to stick with using each shade 3 times. Now I really am hoping I'm not going to have another allergic reaction, so I'm hoping I will have more than 13 looks to show you in the next check-in video, sort of like halfway through December. But I'm now going to cut to showing you how I created this eyeshadow look here. But before I do so, thank you so much for watching the video, guys. If you are not already subscribed, please think about doing so. It'd be lovely to have you here. Thank you to those that have already, and give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and I will insert the footage of this look here. Thanks, guys.